Welcome back to the channel everyone, thanks for joining us today. So we're in lovely sunny Croatia at the moment. Got a really noisy cricket up in the tree. But hey, crickets are better than wind noise, aren't they? I know you guys like good audio. Today we are test riding and giving our first impressions. So it's kind of a first ride review on the Honda CRF1100 Africa Twin. Okay, so welcome to the on-the-road portion of this first ride review, and I'll start off by just mentioning the comfort levels of the bike. So the Africa Twin is a big old thing, so it feels like you're sitting on the bike, not necessarily sitting in it. The seat is actually quite firm. I find the seat quite hard. That said, the seating position is quite comfortable. I've ridden the bike for a couple of hours and I find the seat quite hard, but like, you know, that might be down to a personal preference. I'm sure there's aftermarket options for the bike. Wind protection, well, wind protection's great on the body, so you've got this big fairing which is giving me loads of wind protection, and I've also got a small screen. Now what the screen's doing is actually letting clean air come up into my visor, so I haven't got a great deal of buffeting, which is actually a big improvement for me on past bikes. So I'd rather clean air hitting my visor than turbulent air causing that horrible buffeting noise. Other things about the comfort, the pegs are quite in good position. I mean, you're probably a little bit more upright than perhaps you are on the GS as a comparison. Very upright riding position, bars are nice and high, so overall comfort is pretty good. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about perhaps is technology. Obviously it's the top of the line adventure bike for Honda. It's meant to rival the BMW GS, the Triumph Tiger 1200 perhaps. Just while I get you there, listen to the engine now. We'll come back to that. Shut the visor so you can hear it. We'll come back to that, but for the moment, let's just talk more about the technology. So we've got cruise control down here, so you can see the cruise control is set to on here. If I want to activate that, I just press down the set, and as you can see, cruise comes on the main dash, and then we'll maintain the bike. See my hands off the throttle, and we're just chugging along at 55 kph. I can also increase and decrease on the fly, which is nice. Some biker friends. Other technology we've got, obviously we've got the TFT in front of us. Now I've got various modes that can be displayed through the TFT. So you can see I can cycle through to gravel, off-road, customized user profile 1, customized user 2, and touring, which gives you sort of less information. Obviously this isn't just a display, you've got the riding modes as well, all altered by these preset conditions. One of the things you can do as far as technology is to customize the traction control, all of the ABS and other power delivery and that kind of thing. All that can be customized within each mode, and then you preset that as user 1 and user 2. Now you can't actually do that on a BMW, so that's something a little bit different as well. I'm just going to switch modes because I don't want the engine to keep labouring. I'll talk about that a bit later. The screen itself is fairly nice. It's probably not a BMW quality screen. It's probably above the likes of Triumph, but it's not quite up to the BMW sort of professional navigation standard. And as far as this little LCD is, this looks a little bit unfinished, so I don't really like the combination of LCD and TFT because what's on here is almost duplicated. So 56 kph, 56 kph, and then you've got cruise, and gear indicator, sport. So it's a little bit, it looks like an afterthought. And all of this is done using the control unit here on the left-hand handlebar. I personally don't really like this. It's overly complicated. I've been riding this bike for a little while now, and I don't really find myself coming to grips with this. It's not really intuitive. I've been able to cycle up and down, and obviously I can use the manual controls for the DCT gearbox here, but I don't really. Let's just navigate this junction. That's it. Oh, squirt of throttle. But I don't really find, you know, this intuitive. I've got a star there for favourites, I've got a back, I've got enter, I've got arrows for scrolling, going side to side. I've got function up here, I've got various Bluetooth call buttons, so it's kind of a lot to think about when you're on the road. I don't particularly like it, so that is a bit of a bugbear for me. You've got the USB charger there as well, but nowhere to put your phone, so you'd have to have an aftermarket unit like this to hold the phone. Okay, so let's move on now to the DCT gearbox. This is the thing that really makes or breaks this bike. The DCT, I think, is a bit of a Marmite thing, really. You'll either like it and gel with it, or it'll annoy you no end and you'll just curse the day, you know, you went for DCT. People say it takes time to get used to. Didn't really for me. I jumped on and then instantly treated this like a big scooter. I didn't miss the fact that I'm not moving my foot there to try and change up or down. That's, you know, something I got used to quite quickly. Now, DCT on a long ride like this, on an openish road, I think, let me just set the cruise again so we can have a chat. That's good on in this particular environment. I quite like it here. It's just chugging along. It's doing its thing. It's going up and down. In drive mode, it maintains a very high gear, and that annoys a lot of people. And then that annoys you even on a long empty road, because the engine is under stress, so it's almost lugging the engine a little bit. The motor is under revving, and it sounds very agricultural, and it sounds very clattery, which I don't particularly like. However, the DCT in drive mode around town, stop starting, it's brilliant. You don't really notice it's there, you just twist and go. You come up to traffic lights, you can't possibly stall it. When you've got a pillion on the back, you're not doing that thing where you're banging helmets, because it's so smooth. DCT, when we are wanting to push on a bit, is really crap in drive mode. So then that leaves you with mode S, which stands for sport. And S can be configured to 1, 2 or 3, so I've got it in S2 at the moment, as you can probably see from the dash. Now S2 gives you sort of quite a lot of throttle, holds in the gears for longer, doesn't change down as quickly. Sorry, it changes down quickly when you open the throttle. So if you go up to 3, it's much more aggressive, and if you go down to 1, it's less aggressive. So I'm in about the middle range, and if we come out of the town, I'll show you what this riding is like. So where DCT, I think, falls down massively is in slow speed maneuvers. So that could be doing a turn in the road, and what you'll have to do in that instance, because the gearbox might suddenly decide to change down halfway through your maneuver, and then you'll speed up a little bit as the revs go up, you'll have to use the brake and trail brake through slow speed maneuvers. So in my days on the track, obviously I've trail braked to sort of pull the bike of the back, straighten the bike a little bit as I go into a corner, but that's high speed. I'm not used to trail braking to do slow speed maneuvers, so that's something I've had to get used to with this bike. If you're somewhere on a slope or trying to maneuver the bike by walking it backwards with you still on the bike, you can pop it into neutral. But as soon as you pop it out of drive and into neutral, the whole weight of the bike will start moving. Obviously, it's like pulling in the clutch fully, but it's in a quick motion. So it's a little bit tricky to do slow speed maneuvers. I think that's a big fall down of DCT. Actually, you really have to get used to it. If you're on slopes or loose terrain, and you know, bear in mind this is a big heavy bike, that's going to be a real problem with DCT. Okay, let's talk now about the power and performance of the motor. We talked about the gearbox, and that's good timing as we've just come out of Giuseppe. And look at this now, I'm in sport mode 2. Open up the throttle, hard on the rear brake. It's got a lot of go, isn't it? I'm really enjoying this ride. And obviously it's an 1100 or 1084cc parallel twin, you know, it's made of torque. I think it's about 100 horsepower, but the torque is what really propels this big beast along. When I first was riding this bike, I didn't really think the power output was, say, as good as the competition, like the BMW GS, but there we go. But you can see it's just more than enough torque. It's got loads of it. So while on paper it's a little bit down on power, in real world, you know, this is all you need for the adventure bike category. Power delivery, well, there's a little bit of a delay. You just saw that there when I tried to open up. A little bit of a delay in getting the power, obviously, because I think the DCT has to think a little bit when you open the throttle and change down. Maybe if I was in Sport 3, that might be different. The engine note itself, I don't really resonate with. I think an expensive motorcycle like this should have a little bit of a smoother, more refined engine note, but that's just me. Of course, that's totally subjective. Individual people may have different preferences. Let's talk about the looks of the bike. So obviously we've got this Dakar kind of themed, outlandish, very 80s, bold colour scheme. We've got the blue, red and white there. They also do it in black as well, which is a bit more understated. This is a bit Fireblade 929-esque, isn't it, with the colour scheme. And I like that, and obviously it's a big old bike, so the colour and the paint means that it's very eye-catching. I think it's more interesting to look at than the BMW GS, for example. That's very utilitarian looking, that's very industrial, sort of a purpose-made instrument to do a task. This has got a little bit of flair, a little bit of design. I kind of like this. The colours on this, well, they actually make you want to buy the bike. I think it's the look of the bike that really sells it, especially when you have it with the gold alloys, spoked wheels, gold alloys. It looks really nice, to be fair. The final thing is the size of the bike. Now, this is something that people either agree with or disagree with. There's a trend in sort of heavyweight, big adventure bikes, packed with technology, big capacity, sort of powerful motors. And this bike in particular weighs 229 kg, and that's without anything, and that's also the standard Africa Twin 1100 or CRF1100L to give it its full designation. If you were to go for the Adventure Sports model, that has the bigger screen, the directional lights that follow the road as you steer, heated grips as standard, bigger fuel tank up to 25 litres, more wind protection, a pannier kit that's colour-coded, I think, for the bike. If you go for that option, then you're looking at another, I think, 20-30 pounds. That must be 10, 15 something kilograms added on. If you go for the DCT, which this bike has, that's another 30 pounds. So you've got then another 13 kilograms. And finally, if you go for the luggage, even if you spec a standard Africa Twin with luggage, that's going to increase the weight as well. So this bike, in its very most naked form, is 229 kg. That's wet weight. If you were to add all that, you're going to be looking at, I reckon, 250 kg. Now add to that the bike itself. When you put it on the side stand, obviously it's a Honda, so centre stand is an optional extra, is very heavy and it leans over a lot. So what you'll find is that when you put the bike on the side stand, it's leant right over, and it's very unnerving because you've got this big heavy bike, got all your panniers on the back, and it sort of like, not wobbles, but sort of sinks into it, and it's almost on that tipping point where it's going to go, and you think, you know, it's just a little bit unnerving. So what I'd say is that I think the bike is at the top end of what you'd want to have a bike, you know, weigh in at. It also depends on your personal confidence with it. I mean, I'm 5'11", reasonably strong. I'd probably say, you know, I go to the gym a little bit. I can move the bike around, but it's not enjoyable to move around. I don't particularly like slow speed maneuvers on this bike. I don't like getting it out of the garage. I'm just going to slow down because this guy's right up on my tail. I don't particularly like moving it around. It's quite a fiddle. And so what I would suggest is, just going to go let him go past. Yeah, what I'll do actually now I'm here, let's just drop it in neutral. Put it onto its side stand. You see, that's a hell of a lean. And you've got 200 and whatever kilos, and then to push it back up is not particularly easy. You see? I think it's at the heavy end of you know, what bikes should be. I think it's a little bit cumbersome. And that, at the final point, I mean, the engine also gives off a lot of heat. Just before I forget to mention that, your legs are very toasty with this bike. But going back to the weight thing, I mean, look at these maneuvers now. So I'm on a little bit of a slope, so I can roll backwards. But if I want to go up, see, I can barely move the bike. And if I was on gravel or a side slope, it'd be real tricky. Obviously here I'm on flat, nice smooth tarmac, and I haven't got any panniers on so I can move the bike around, but let's put him into drive, indicate the other way, and yeah, we'll set back off home. Oh, gotta go. Okay, so guys, I'll finish on that. My final thoughts are of the bike. We've got the Makarska Riviera unfolding in front of us. A little bit of a setting sun. I mean, the light's probably not perfect for you, but it looks great from where I'm sitting. Yeah, as far as recommending this bike, I do want to love it. It's the looks, the engine's a bit agricultural. I don't really like the noise, but it has got a certain charm. And obviously it's an Africa Twin, you know, it's a lot of history and a lot of, its name means something. But I can't get over the size of it, how big it is and how cumbersome it is. And if you're short of space or you're not confident handling a big old bike, I don't think it can be recommended. I think that counts it out. Okay guys, well, I'm going to carry on my ride. I'm going to hustle off and get back home. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please hit the like button. That helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you could want to know anything, then please comment below, or if you've got anything to share, then please also comment as well. And then I will gratefully receive said comments, and I'll look over them, and I enjoy learning from them as well. So many knowledgeable people on here. Also, one thing I will ask as well, if you do like what we're doing on the channel, then please do consider subscribing. That really makes a big difference, and obviously shows me that the channel's growing, I'm doing something right, growing over time. Okay guys, well, I'm going to catch you on the next one, and yeah, enjoy it, stay mindful and stay free and enjoy your riding.